My name is Natalie Franke, and I am the head of community and co-founder of the Rising Tide Society. And I want to welcome you to today's event. I also want to take a moment to give a very special shout out to the one and only Kate Masters, who is manning the controls behind the scenes and really is the reason that all of this comes together every single month. Yeah, please give her a little bit of love in the chat if you can. Kate is a true rock star and really just an extraordinary community leader. For those of you who are new, a little bit about Rising Tide before we get rolling. We are a community of small business owners and creative entrepreneurs who unite in the spirit of community over competition. We have just over 400 local chapters led by extraordinary volunteer leaders, co-leaders, and chairs. We have a Facebook group with over 77,000 community members that's facilitated by our rockstar team of moderators who we love dearly. And we release educational resources essentially daily, everything from blog posts to webinar content to templates, monthly downloadable guides, and so much more, completely free for our community. Again, our passion and our belief is that when creatives rise, when small business owners are able to thrive, that the entire world is changed for the better. And so we are fighting for that day in and day out, month in and month out together. Joining forces to ensure that our community has the opportunity to rise and to continue to impact the world. But as you know, as we just talked about a little bit ago, about a year ago, it became clear that it was no longer safe for us to gather in person, although we long for the day when that's no longer true. And so in order to continue supporting and serving the community, giving you all the tools that you need, we moved our meetings online and we've been hosting Global Tuesdays Together meetings ever since. This is going to continue. This is the future of Tuesdays Together. And we're so excited to be doubling down and really committing to online accessible education for all small business owners. Today, we're in for a really big treat. There's only one more housekeeping item standing between basically you and Terry Rice here, and that is our giveaway opportunity that I love to mention and shout out. Today, we're going to be giving away a $50 American Express gift card for you to use on yourself. Okay, it doesn't even have to be for your business. Treat yourself. We've already hinted at some of the things that many of y'all need to be treating yourself to in this really trying season. However you want to use it is fine by us. We're just excited to give it away. And so in order to enter that giveaway today, all we need you to do is share something from today's webinar on Instagram stories. And when you do that, make sure to tag at Rising Tide Society and tag Terry at It's Terry Rice on Instagram stories as well. Make sure you're giving him a shout out. If he drops a quote that hits you and you're like, yes, that needs to be on a billboard or tattooed on your body. That has happened at some of these meetups. It gets that deep sometimes. It gets that tactical sometimes. Then I want you to give him a shout out, share on Instagram stories, spread the love, and we will be monitoring those posts throughout the entire webinar today. And at the very, very end, we will announce that giveaway winner. And as always, thank you for showing up. Thank you for supporting one another. Thank you for being a part of this community. Now, without taking any more of Terry's time, I do want to give him an intro. He is so deserving of it. This is not the first time I have heard Terry speak. I love and appreciate him and his knowledge that he brings to the table. Terry is a business development consultant and staff writer at Entrepreneur Magazine. As the founder of Terry Rice Consulting, he helps entrepreneurs to grow their brand and revenue without sacrificing their health, their family, or their personal interests. His focus is advising professionals on how to launch or scale their knowledge-based business. He's also an adjunct instructor at NYU, where he leads workshops for career-driven individuals. A recognized digital marketing expert, his previous experience includes helping clients achieve their business goals while working at Adobe and Facebook. He's been a featured speaker at industry events, including Social Media Week, South by Southwest, while also serving as a mentor at organizations including Amazon, Techstars, and the NYU Entrepreneurial Institute. Terry's also a father, a husband, and a proponent of both mental and physical health, and we are so honored to have him joining us here today. Terry, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad to be here. I should have you just like follow me every day and say that stuff. Like it was a good pump up. So
Sign me up.
I have done a lot of stuff. That's pretty cool. All right. But this is not about me. This is about everyone who's in attendance here. So what I'm going to do next is have that awkward transition where I share my screen. I'm going to say, am I sharing it? You just say, no, I'm going to try again, and then we'll just get through that. So give me a minute. I'm going to start by sharing my screen and let me know when you can actually see my slides, and then we can jump into it. Let's see if I get this right the first time. Fingers crossed. Cool. How are we doing here? Got it?
Looks great.
Wow. Okay, cool. Got that the first time. All right. So I do want to get this out of the way though, and then we can proceed So do me a favor while we're kind of getting warmed up here. In the chat window, can you just let us know what you do? So maybe you're a photographer, maybe you're a wedding planner. Just want to know who's in the room and what you're up to. Got a wedding planner, photographer. Are you guys just saying what I say? Let's see. Social media planner, wedding planner, high school photographer. Awesome. Um, Meeting broker. Cool. Event coordinator, DJ. All right, AJ. Oh, AJ the DJ. That works. Photographer, holistic coach. Sweet. Photographer, wedding planner, consultant, photographer, and yoga teacher. That's pretty cool. I need that yoga these days. Advertising guy. I dig it, Jim. Event decorator. Okay, cool. All right, that's helpful. So marketing consultant and photographer. Rick, you're going to be in demand, man. That's pretty important. All right, awesome. So what I'm going to do right now is this. I need a videographer, actually. So, and that example comes up soon. All right, lead janitor for your wife's floral design boutique. Paul, you're getting points over here, man. All right, I dig that. I cannot let my wife watch this recording now, but thank you for that. All right, cool. So let's go. What I want to do today is just discuss how you can make the transition from traditionally delivering your services in person to doing it as a consultant, right? Which you can fortunately do online. And just as a housekeeping rule, when you have questions, just interrupt me. Don't wait for me to get to it. Like I said, I got a bunch of kids. They never wait for anything. They might walk in for all I know, but you're never bothering me. You're not interrupting me. So I just want to make sure that you get your questions answered. One of the most important things I do right now is give you a link to my website that has my socials. It has the link to this deck, some other next steps you might want to take, but all that stuff is there now. I'll put it there later as well. But let's go ahead and get moving here. So I can kind of skip the intro part because Natalie did a better job than I ever have. So let's keep that moving. But you see my socials there. And I also have my social as my screen name here in Zoom. So if you want to grab that whenever you see fit, go for it. And this is the agenda. First thing is talking a little bit about the entrepreneurial mindset and how you're going to have to shift a little bit, as you probably realized by now. And then going into demonstrating your expertise as a consultant, not necessarily as a service provider anymore, as a consultant, and how that can look. And then finding clients, right? How do you do that? It's going to be different from how you've traditionally done it, especially if you normally work more locally, right? How do you expand past your current region? And then obviously services and pricing, the $1 million question. Ask me as many as you want on that. I want to make sure you're clear. And I'm going to give you some handy guides on how to figure that out, right? One of the most important things you can do, I gave you a link to it already, is to download this one-page business plan for coaches and consultants. It's going to help you apply everything that you've learned today. So please do grab that. I have the URL there, but again, it's in that deck that that link that I already gave you. All right, let's get into it. This is my friend Patrice. Patrice is a videographer. She's worked on Today Show. She now does this independently here in Brooklyn. But Patrice also had a baby December 24th of last year. So during COVID, early on, she realized, wait a second, like I cannot do in-person video production because of things that were going on that we were all aware of. And she's like, what am I going to do? Like, how am I going to support my growing family? And her husband, Ali, actually works at a startup. So those can be kind of shaky sometimes too. And what she did is she doubled down on her talent, not the execution, but her talent, which is video strategy. And she said, you know what? I think I can teach people how to do video strategy from their own home, because video is still important. We all know this, right? And just because you can't do it in person, it's still necessary. So she's like, I want to help entrepreneurs and small brands learn how to create great video right from their own home with their cell phone. And that's what she did. She created this masterclass where she charged people to go through a 1-month accelerator where she taught them how to make great videos from her phone. Now, month 1, there was a little bit of imposter syndrome. She charged $500, got 8 signups. Month 2, she felt a bit more confident, charged $1,000 per person and got 10 signups. So now she's at $10,000 a month. Month 3, I want to put all her business out there, but she's doing okay, right? To the point where when things do go back to quote unquote normal, she's going to have more of a blended model where she still has these master classes that she does online as well as in-person work, right? So I'm bringing this up because she's a great example of the skills that you have to develop to transition your service to delivering it online. And I've been so impressed because I've known Patrice for years. She's my videographer. And the skills she picked up just in the last few months, It's always great when that happens. Have really impressed me to the point where she actually learned how to make an online course as her lead magnet, a way to get people on her email list. And this is it. I'll give you a link to it later, but it's how to create your 1-minute video on your phone that'll attract and inspire your audience. She made this online course while she was 9 months pregnant, and now she has this to get people on her email list, right? I'm doing this to show you the transition that she made and that you can do too, right? And to say, like, no matter what your age, if you have 2.5 kids at home, you can do it as well. And you might say, Terry, yeah, I get it, but some things don't transition as well to remote as in person. I'll talk to you about Tippy Toes. So Tippy Toes is this in-person ballet organization. It's a studio. It's a franchise. And I interviewed the founder of it for Entrepreneur Magazine because when things went virtual, she's in trouble. She's like, how can we get more parents to do yet another Zoom class, right? They're all Zoomed out. And what she found was the way to make it more personal is all the teachers, in addition to doing teaching, they would send personalized notes to all the students saying, hey, Kelly, you're doing great. Just want to know I miss you. I can't wait to see you again soon. After a while, the kids started looking forward to the notes more than to the class, right? So what I'm saying is find those tipping points to make whatever you're doing more impactful. It could be a note, it could be a voice note, whatever it is, but there's little tiny tipping points that can help you still thrive no matter how you're pivoting right now. Another thing I'll bring up is obviously there's a need for reinvention. One of my favorite books by Dory Clark is Reinventing You. And she talks about how you can reposition yourself to your existing audience and network as doing something different. So the quote here is, in today's world, reinventing yourself isn't optional. Now, this book was written about 6 years ago. So she was not talking about COVID, but strangely is very relevant right now. So just realize if you're feeling uncomfortable right now, like, oh, I feel like I'm starting over again, I'm having this identity foreclosure or identity crisis, you're not the only one. It's perfectly natural. So embrace it and then move forward, all right? And that's what we're talking about today. Now, for me, my strength is helping people launch consulting businesses, right? But your knowledge is the hub that you already have to make that happen. So now I'll give you what I call the 5 pillars of consulting success. This is going to be a great time to grab a screenshot, jot this down, just as a heads up here. The first one is clarity, right? Who do you help and how do you do it? So getting very clear on your services, your delivery, your pricing, because clarity is the precursor to confidence. Okay. And right now, if you're saying, Terry, I'm uncertain about how to do this, so on and so forth, that's fine. I hear you. But let's get clear first, and then you can move forward more confidently. And then when you reach out to your network or potential prospects, you'll have that confidence behind it, right? So get very clear on what you do, who you do it for. We'll talk about today. The next is your business process. These are the tools, apps, and routines that let you spend more time in your zone of genius and less time doing admin-based work, right? HoneyBook being a great tool for that, right? That's like 5 tools in one. So you already have some of these skills in place. I'm showing you how to use them in a different way, right? After that, branding and marketing. How do you express yourself to your audience in a way that attracts their attention and makes them want to work with you to get some of their questions answered? Now, again, you've done this in person as a service provider before. I'm showing you how to make that pivot through social media, through content marketing, so on and so forth. Next up, pitching and proposals. You're all pros at this stuff, right? But what I'm telling you is, in this case, we're not even pitching anyone. We're diagnosing their problems and suggesting a solution if we have one, right? Because imagine if you went to the doctor and you told her, hey, I'm under the weather, and she just handed you a prescription. You would say, well, don't you want to ask me some questions, right? That's part of the pitching process. And it might change a little bit because we're doing consulting as opposed to these, in-person services, right? Proposals, you got HoneyBook. I'm not going to talk about that too much. You're good to go there, right? We got plenty of resources. And then lastly, fulfillment. That's you fulfilling the promises to your clients as well as to yourself, right? Not working around the clock, not sacrificing your health, mental or physical, your time with your friends, your family, whatever it may be, right? So we'll go into that as well. But it all starts with clarity, right? Clarity on who your target audience is and how you can help them. So in the chat window, give me an idea. Are you clear on your target audience, who you'd want to help through some kind of consulting arrangement? Yes or no? Are we clear on that? Everyone's good. Yes. Okay. So this part, I didn't think we were going to spend too much time on because you're experts, right? It's not like you're just mostly clear, Sandra. I appreciate that. Heidi, not quite. That's fine. Yeah. A lot of you, I mean, I know it's going to be an offshoot of what you're currently doing, so we can massage that a little bit. But really, when you want to get clear on your audience, it all starts with audience research. Now, the fact that you've already been doing this stuff in person, a lot of you already have this research. What are their challenges? What are their goals? What are their attitudes and behaviors, so on and so forth. But what I would say if you're starting from scratch is to do that audience research by doing some kind of interviews with people or doing what we call social listening as well. So social listening really is just going on social channels, for example, Reddit, and then going to a thread for your audience and listening into those conversations, right? So one of my friends is a sleep health educator. She has an in-person sleep health center in Buffalo, New York, which had to close down. So she had to learn how she can consult people remotely for this. And she went on channels like Reddit into the thread for insomnia and just read those comments. People saying, hey, has anyone tried this drug yet? I never had problems sleeping until COVID hit, but now I'm going nuts. And you know what? It's causing problems with my wife. I'm actually jealous she's sleeping and I'm not. I'm nudging her awake and then we argue, right? So these are things she actually read. I'm not making this up, unfortunately. So now she's like, hell, I'm an expert on sleep health education, but there's a whole new wave of people who have this anxiety-induced sleep challenge. And as a result of that, I need to be able to help them in a different way, right? It's not what I've done classically. There's this acute stress that's turned into chronic stress, and they're not used to it. So her being able to communicate that to her audience is super important, right? That's part of the research you're saying. And Attica is saying sleep jealousy is real. I've been there before. Yeah, I mean, because I'm not going to go into it, but I've been known to fake being asleep when my kids wake up in the middle of the night. So like I said, now I definitely can't let my wife watch this video. But guys, by the way, if that ever happens to you, they know we're faking it. Just let me just clear this up. They know we're faking it. So let's just stop. But anyways, if you need help doing this research, if you want to get even deeper, I wrote an article about how you can do that using LinkedIn, where you would send out surveys to people and say, hey, coming on the blue here, but I'm wondering if you can help me fill out this one question survey. I see there's other people chiming into the whole faking sleeping. Yeah. So if you need help doing that research, for those of you who are unclear, do this, read this article. It's on my website. It'll give you step-by-step guidance on how to do this research. But the thing is, once you do this, everything else kind of falls into place because you know what your audience's challenges are. You know it's how impacting them. And you say, okay, well, based on that, how can I help them, right? So please do this if you're not completely clear on your target audience and how you want to help them. Next up, branding and marketing. Now, sure, we're going to talk about social media and all that cool stuff, but you know what? It starts with your current network. It starts with your current network and reaching out to them and saying, hey, by the way, I'm doing this new thing. Can you help me by spreading the word? Do you know someone who could help use my services, or maybe you need them as well? Now, I've done a lot of research on consulting just for the course that I created and my job, obviously. And the majority of consultants, the way they got their first client was from their network. So you either know or you know someone who knows your first client if you're just now starting out. What's going to get in your way could be your ego. It could be your ego saying, I don't want to reach out and seem desperate, and like I don't know, what to do, or, whatever it is. So one of my favorite books is Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday. And he makes a good point, almost in jest. He says, ego's never improved any situation ever. He's like, you've never been in a situation where you're like, you know what made that better? More ego. But it can sure hurt. It can sure hurt you. So when you're in, if you're like, I don't want to seem desperate and I don't want to send this email or whatever, this message on social media, that's your ego getting in the way, right? Because what's going to happen? People are going to either ignore you, which is fine. They're going to acknowledge you and say, oh, thanks, for reaching out. Sorry, I can't help. Or they're going to help. None of those situations are worse than you could possibly be if you're not, finding any clients, right? So just get that ego out the way. I've done this before too. Everything I tell you today, I've done myself. I'm not just reading blogs about it and saying, hey, try this out. So here's an example of what this can look like. If you want to screenshot it or get the deck, which is, I already gave you a link to that on my website. Basically, you're just acknowledging that, 2021 was crazy. What I don't like is when people reach out and like, hey, hope all's well on your end. I'm like, actually, no, I'm really sad. And I got no sleep last night because my 1-year-old woke up and my 4-year-old woke up. and now you're reaching out saying, hope everything is well. It's actually not well, right? So just acknowledge the weirdness that 2020 was and say, I hope it's transitioning at least, right? Just have some empathy, right? And then say, hey, as you know, that, 2020 was obviously challenging for my business. Now I'm doing a pivot. And as you might have guessed, I'm asking for your help. You can get more information on my website, but to summarize, here's what I do, whatever you do as a consultant. And if you know anyone who might be interested, please forward them this email. Super important. Write this email in a way that they can forward it to their network. Don't say, hey, Natalie, I do all this stuff. No, remix it in your voice, send that email, and think of a subject line, which takes me forever too, but you got this, right? Make it so they can just forward the email to their network. You want to reduce the friction in the process of them actually helping you. And if you don't write this in a way where they can actually send it to someone, again, just forwarding it, you're making them do you two favors. One is reaching out to their network, and the other is figuring out how to say it, right? So do this. It's going to work well. And again, on your end, set a goal for yourself. Say, like, you know what? I'm going to write 10 of these a day. 10 of these a day. And then even if nothing happens day 1, day 2, day 3, you can kind of relax a little bit knowing there's 40 people out there who have your best interest at heart, and they're going to try to help you. And then you know what? Maybe you can go watch TV. Maybe you can play with your kids. Maybe you can take time to make dinner, knowing you've done something to help yourself today, even if it has not come to fruition just yet, right? You can also send a similar email to your client. Say, hey, by the way, last year was crazy. By the way, I know I used to do this, but now I'm doing this. It might help you, right? So in the case of Patrice, you could say, I used to do video production, but now I'm helping people just like you create video from your own home. Would you be interested, right? So same thing, but what I'm saying is do this first. Before you're like, hey, Terry, what hashtag should I use on Instagram? Like, why don't you try the easy way first? Why are we reaching out to strangers saying, please help me, when there's people who know you who could help you as well, right? So get out of your own way and do that. Now, the next thing you can do is this, right? The next thing you can do is this. You can also think of a topic that will be very beneficial for your target. Somebody writing on the screen? That's always weird. Think of a topic that'll be very beneficial for your audience, and then try to get in front of them through a third-party organization. And I'll show you what I mean by that, all right? Because now you can do a one-to-many approach as opposed to one-to-one. And when I first started doing consulting, this is back in 2015, I was a digital marketing consultant. And what I would do is I would go to the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce and say, can I do a free Facebook marketing workshop for all the members of the Chamber of Commerce? You don't have to pay me, but if you promote it, I'm glad to do it. And like, yeah, sure. And by the way, here's this conference room and here's some bagels and juice. I'm like, oh, sweet. I didn't think there'd be bagels and juice here, right? So I would do that, and like 60 people would show up to hear me talk. So I was like, wow, this is the way you do it. You have a third party build the audience for you, then you show up and deliver value. So that's what I'm asking all of you to do. And by the way, Patrice has done this before as well. Have some kind of relevant speaking topic, then align with a relevant organization who already has access to your audience. And then from there, provide a reason for them to follow up with you. And Jeremy's saying BNI is another great option. And there's a lot of BNIs, right? We all know that. So yeah, a BNI is a great option. Hell, a public library is a good option. I've done these at the Brooklyn Public Library before. And again, you're like, your ego might get in the way. Like, Terry, you're going to do that at the Brooklyn Public Library? You spoke at South by Southwest and Amazon, all this stuff. I'm like, you know what? Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because as long as your audience is there and you can provide value, it's still a good fit. What will get in your way? Again, your ego, right? So next month, I'm actually talking at the Round Rock, Texas Public Library remotely. Anybody jealous? I don't need you to be, but it's like, that's the thing. I don't let my ego get in the way of me building my business and taking care of my family. So again, same thing I'm asking you to do as well. So for Patrice, this is another example. The topic is establish your authority and authenticity with a founder video, right? Organization could be the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce. And the reason to follow up, that free mini course that she made. But you need to have that we call a lead magnet, some reason to say, hey, everyone, if you enjoyed your time today, here's how you can continue the process, right? You saw me do that earlier. So a prereq for all of you is to have a lead magnet, right? And we'll go deeper into what that means, but you need to have this. And I can say, Terry, how do I even reach out to these people? Just write them an email. Hey, I'm wondering if you ever bring in outside speakers to talk to your organization. Here's what I do. And then immediately pivot. Here's how I can help your audience. The bulk of this should be about how you help their audience, not you, not how you worked at this company or how you spoke at this conference or how you're so great, blah, 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 right? I can help your audience with this information. Would you like me to deliver it? That should be the whole theme of what you're saying, right? Keep it short and keep it focused on their audience. That's all you need to do, right? So do this, right? This works. I've done this myself. When I was doing this in person back in 2015, I would go to a lot of co-working spaces and do this. I would do it for the Brooklyn Public Library, different branches around Brooklyn, so on and so forth. And that's how I developed somewhat, I don't say a following, but like people eventually started knowing who I was because of this. So put in that grunt work, send 10 of these off a day, right? It works. I want you to take a one-to-many approach because if you're time constrained like I am, you don't have time for all the one-to-one stuff, right? I'd rather get a no from the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce asking if I could talk to their audience than a no from Mike asking if I can talk to him, right? So if you're going to get a no from like a bigger opportunity, right? Power moves only, not this like little nickel and diamond stuff where you're like, oh, I saw your post on Instagram. You want to talk about giving me money? That doesn't work as well. And again, that's why I was saying you need that lead magnet, that free opt-in. And on my website, and as you saw, it's that one-page business plan for coaches and consultants, right? So you go through this whole thing and it's going to go ahead and help you determine everything you need to do to launch and scale your business, okay? On your end, maybe it's a different kind of checklist. 5 things to do before you do this. 6 mistakes people make before they do that. The one-page business plan for whatever. But make it something that's going to provide value to your target audience to the point where like, oh, I want that. That sounds great. Now that business plan that I made, I wrote it in about 3 hours. And then I hired a graphic designer to make it for me. I think I paid her $300. So you're 3 hours and $300 away from having this thing. But you know what's cool? When you post something on LinkedIn and someone's like, oh, cool post, man. Thanks for helping. And then you DM them later and you're like, hey, Natalie, if you want some more help, I have this one-page business plan that'll be even more beneficial. Happy to send it to you. You can't do that if you don't have this valuable information. So that's what I'm saying. Do all this before we start figuring out what hashtag to use on Instagram. Because if you don't have something to back up why you're reaching out to someone besides hi, it's not going to land as well, right? So please do this. If there are questions about it, just ask me because this part, it's a game changer. And I'll tell you what, this is not me bragging. This is just numbers. I posted about this on LinkedIn and Instagram, I think like 3 weeks ago. And that very same day, I got 134 downloads for $0. So some of you know cost per lead is a metric you think about in digital marketing. My cost per lead was zero. And since then, I think 400 people have downloaded it over the course of the last 3 weeks. I paid $0 to advertise it whatsoever, but I just post on like LinkedIn and I'll say, hey, step 1 for growing your business is this. Want the other 25 steps? Download my business plan. Like that's it. That's all you have to do. All right. So the question that came up is what makes a good opt-in? Hey, what I would do first is start looking at some of your competitors and see what they're doing. I'm not saying copy that, but I don't know what industry you're in. So it kind of depends on what you're doing. But one of my clients is a branding consultant. And what she does is branding audits. So she'll do an audit of your brand as per the name. And she has like her 10-point checklist for how to audit your own brand. Do you have this? Do you have this? Do you have that? At the end, she's like, if any of this is confusing to you, you should probably reach out to me and I'll give you an audit. Another client I work with, Laquan McCarley, she is a compliance consultant, making sure your business is in compliance for federal funding, for just doing the right thing, whatever it's called. She'll give you a compliance checklist. And she'll say, if any of this stuff is confusing, you should reach out to me because this is the number one reason why a lot of companies did not get funding during the first stimulus round. So it's not a fear tactic, but it's a real tactic, right? If any of this stuff is confusing to you, you should probably book a call with me. Here you go. You can all do the same thing, right? Super important. All right. It's hard to do these and not sound preachy. I know it's my job, but I feel like I'm like scolding you all for things that that you haven't done wrong. But hopefully this is helpful and let me know in the comments. Is this working for you? How are you feeling right now? How's this going? All right, cool. Thanks. It's my first time I've ever stopped to actually ask that. I'm like, is this annoying you a little bit, or, or are you good? All right, good, cool. All right, in that case, I'll continue with this. All right, so the next thing is, yes, Jim Clark said Reverend Rice. That's hilarious. Yeah. So the next part, actually, Alex asked me, can you give me some more components of a good founder video? Alex, I have no clue. I don't know how to do that stuff, but I'll give you a link to Patrice's freebie, and then she'll tell you all about it. But I got no clue. Cool. So how do you create engaging content? I'm going to give you the easiest strategy ever. And I don't like the word hack, because it's like no one's ever hacked the way to success, because hacks only last until they don't work. Like, I would not want to pay my mortgage off a hack, because then it's like, all right, kids, we got to move, because dad's hack doesn't work anymore. But I will give you a very clear way, a very clear way to get your strategy started for content marketing. And it's this. Just think of 10 questions your audience has, right? Best way to grow flowers at home. How to blend your songs on a workout mix if you're a DJ, right? If you're maybe a caterer, how to make, food without burning it, whatever it is, whatever questions you have, think of those 10 questions and then create content that answers them, right? So for me, it could be, how do I determine my prices? How do I get more clients? So on and so forth, right? How do I get rid of a bad client? But what I'm asking you to do is think of 10 questions your audience has and then answer them. Questions create content. If you do that, you'll be able to post, hell, even once a week. If you post once a week, you'll have 2.5 months worth of content, all right? Now, channels you can use for this, include Instagram. It could be LinkedIn. It kind of depends on where your audience is. If you're not currently using LinkedIn, I think you should at least consider it, especially because now we're doing some consulting. So yes or no in the chat window here. Do you post on LinkedIn once a week, at least once a week? Yes or no? Nope. Really? Yes. Thanks, Alex. Nope. Never. Okay, cool. Thanks for your honesty. Once a decade. That's hilarious. Yeah. LinkedIn. What? Okay. Not for your audience. Yeah. No. Okay. So I'm going to come back to the not for your audience later. Every now and then. Can't remember the last time I even logged in. Do you have your login, Sandra? You must have reset that. The reason why I'm bringing up LinkedIn is this. If you can make it work, let's make it work. And I want to go into how we can make it work later. But only 1% of monthly active users for LinkedIn post once a week. And those 1% split 9 billion impressions per week, right? And that's out to about 3,000 impressions per week for people that post on LinkedIn once a week, right? So it's pretty good. And the reason why I say is because Instagram is a content surplus platform. There's more people creating content than the platform has to share it evenly, right? Whereas LinkedIn is content deficient, meaning people don't post on LinkedIn that much. So if you post on LinkedIn, you're going to reach far more people than you actually have followers, because not that many people produce content. So if you can find a reason to produce content on LinkedIn, I highly recommend it. TikTok's another good idea. TikTok, the reach on there is insane, right? I'm not on it because I'm too old. I tried to join. They said, dude, you are too old. But for those of you that can get on because you're not 42, I would say go for it, because yeah, the reach on there is insane, right? So if you have a good reason to be on TikTok, do it. LinkedIn, do it, right? I know a lot of you are probably on Facebook and Instagram. Cool, do that too. But what I'm saying is the reach on LinkedIn and TikTok is insane. Now, after you go past the basic how-to stuff, I want you to think about how you want to develop your personal brand through your content. Because all that how-to stuff, that shows your expertise, which is great, right? But being an expert is a prereq. It's your personality that's going to be your unique differentiator. And I see way too many people exhausting themselves trying to come up with a unique differentiator for their business. Oh, I thought of this while I was meditating in Buffalo. It's like, okay, cool. Like, really? Like, just like, what do you do again? Like, it doesn't have to be that, obtruse. You can just say like, here's what I do. And also I have a nice personality, right? That's it. Your personality can be the unique differentiator, not necessarily like how you have this formula for magically making photos in Photoshop. It's like, that's you'll exhaust yourself, and you might sound silly too. So what I'm going to ask you to do is leverage this content marketing matrix that I use to post my content, and I'll walk you through it. This part, just kind of latch in and pay attention. I know I'm like joking around. You guys are responding. Thank you for that, but let's pretend that never happened. Lock in right now, because if you can master this, you're going to master growing your personal brand. You're going to grow your revenue too. It's this. Here's how you can quickly create content that's impactful, but does not feel like a pain in the ass. And by that, I mean not feel like an interruption to your day where you're like, great, I got to think of something to write. Okay. On the left, we have different mediums: images, videos, texts. I'm sure you're all fine with that so far, right? Now, in one column, we have your area of expertise: photography, wedding planning, DJ, whatever it may be. You're going to come up with themes to write about for each of those columns. Just the theme, right? So image for photography, it could be something like one lens versus another, right? Or having a selfie light versus not having a selfie light. I'm obviously not a photographer, right? The next one will be industry updates. Industry updates. So if I'm a wedding photographer, maybe it's like saying, oh, wedding bookings are actually picking up now, going into 2021. A lot of people waited, and maybe if they even did just go to the justice of the peace, they're actually saying, look, now I want to have my wedding, my destination wedding in 2021. The other two columns are vitally important, and these are the two that I can't help you with. This is what makes you special: your interest, your hobby, something personal about you. Maybe you have an interest in nonprofits. Maybe you have kids. Maybe you do meditation or whatever it makes sense to you. But you're going to talk about that as well. Now, here's how it looks for me, right? Coaching, consulting, industry updates. Then I talk about mental health, physical health, and then my personality, which is meditation in Buffalo. Thanks, Holly. Which is me being sarcastic and stoic, which is a crappy combination because no one ever knows if I'm joking. But usually if you feel offended, I am. Okay. So then what you're going to do is just rapid fire out content ideas. You're not going to write the full post, just the ideas, right? So for me, on a video about mental and physical health, I had a video of me exercising in the snow the other day. Like, hey, even though it's snowing out, I'm still working out outside, right? Under video and consulting, I had a video about how to deal with rude clients. How do you deal with them? Spoiler alert, get rid of them. They are not worth the the tax that they have on your mental health. And then bottom right-hand corner, personality and text, I have my kids making noise while I'm on calls like this one. Yes or no in the chat window. Have you heard my kids screaming, sounding like they're in peril? Yes or no? Not yet. What? You're being very polite. I appreciate it. Okay. You thought it was yours for a second? Yeah, I hate that. Yeah. You can't hear them. You can't hear them over your own kids screaming? All right. A little bit, but don't mind. All right. Mine are too loud. Yeah. All the moms automatically block it out. You have to. Cool. So listen, let's just have a moment of honesty here. During early COVID, if that's a time period I can reference, I was always apologizing for how much noise my kids made in the background. Hey, sorry, my kids exist, they're screaming or whatever, so on and so forth. But all my clients said, hey, don't worry about it. We can barely hear them, or it's okay. We don't care. And that turned into this post. People don't care about your kids. Here's how I found out. It's because all my clients said, don't worry about the noise. It's fine. But I also said, if you're so distracted by the noise that your kids are making that you can't be fully present while you're trying to deliver value, then you're not going to succeed anywhere as a parent or as a practitioner, right? Because your attention's divided, right? So since we're all in this together, it means we all have to own up to that and just understand that people have different situations. And if you look, and I'm not chasing stats here, but that got almost 30,000 views on LinkedIn. 30,000 views for me talking about my kids making noise. And you know what? That reinforces my personal brand, because so many people reach out to me like, hey, Terry, I like the fact that you're an expert, but it also seems like, you're involved with your family and you care about your mental health, so on and so forth. And that's why I want to work with you, right? There are a lot of other people that also coach consultants. Like, bro, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, hey, dude, you got that. That's fine. It's not my style, right? Like, that's not how I get my aggression out, by typing, right? But I'm not trying to attract that type of person anyways, right? So for me, I'm just like, hey, this is my deal. And Christy's saying the same thing. My top posts are always personal. I'll tell you right now, this post would do much better than me saying, hey, everyone, here's how you increase the rate for your services. No one cares about that. But if I'm like, I'm kind of sad today because I can't find my wallet or whatever, people are like, oh, we're sorry, it's horrible. Like that gets more attention for some reason, right? Maybe it's because people are just kind of sick of seeing it, all the how-to stuff. Here's another one I had. I saw that Louis Vuitton was selling playing cards for $600. They were selling a deck of cards for $600. So I went to their website and I realized they were selling a kite for $10,000. And I was like, are you serious? It's 2020. They're selling a kite for $10,000. That turned into this post. It's 2020 and Louis Vuitton selling a kite for $10,000. It's 2020. Many consultants are afraid to charge $10,000 for their services. It's not the economy. It's your mindset. And if you don't change it, 2021 is not looking any better. Right? There's a little mic drop there. But, thanks, Natalie. But again, this got like 24,000 views. And I'll tell you what, it actually landed me a client too. I'm talking about a kite, people. I'm talking about a kite. And that got me a client for thousands of dollars. So what I'm saying is all this, how-to stuff, that's important. It's foundational. Cool. Go with it. But at the end of the day, for you to build a personal brand, to be relatable, you have to talk about other aspects of your life. I'll give you one more. My daughter, she's 5 years old. She lost her first tooth about a month ago. And she's like, Dad, when I wake up, I want to find $1 under my pillow. I'm like, Lena, look, tooth fairy does not exist. And neither does Santa Claus because I know Christmas is coming up too. Nope, not doing it. COVID. I'm tired. Can't do it. No way. And she's like, that's fine. Just sneak in my room and put $1 under my pillow while I'm sleeping. That's all you have to do. And then I realized she doesn't care about the process. She cares about the outcome. But far too many businesses on our website, we talk about the process, and not the outcome. That was my post that I had on LinkedIn, and that got like 20, 30,000 views or whatever too, right? I was talking about teeth falling out, right? But what will happen is after a while, you'll learn to just be more present in your life and realize that, hey, there's stories happening around me all the time. And I can share that in a way. I can share that in a way that has some kind of business value, or maybe it's just me telling the story of my life too, and making myself more relatable. But you can't do that if you're not being present. And one way that I stay present in the current moment is I just wiggle my toes. It reminds me to lock in and be where my feet are, right? So that mindfulness is very necessary because at any given time, 47% of us are not paying attention to the current moment. And unfortunately, that leads to unhappiness. So if you're not paying attention and you're unhappy with this, it's your fault, not mine. This is a good presentation, right? These are just stats for you. But again, just being more mindful and again, just being locked in that current moment, that's how you'll come up with some of this content. But also when you're talking to your clients, same thing, right? If you're thinking about what you're going to say next and not what they're saying, you're going to mess up. So be present. Again, if you need help, wiggle your toes. Now, somebody might say, Terry, cool story. I'm not writing anything. I'm not a writer. Fine. I tried. You can still engage with content by commenting. Find relevant hashtags, influencers, whatever it is, and then share and comment on these relevant posts. You can do that too. If you're like, hey, man, not writing, fine. This is one way you can still express your zone of genius on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on whatever it is. Example, someone mentioned Simon Sinek earlier, and I commented on one of his posts, and my comment itself got 52 likes and 13 replies. Now, hell, I'm lucky sometimes if my own posts get 52 likes and any replies. But Gary said I'm brilliant, and Victoria said it's true, right? So if you can't create content or you don't feel comfortable doing it, hell, just go ahead and comment, right? I'm not letting you off the hook. But if you comment, sometimes your comment gives you the idea for a post, and then that becomes a post. So either way, create that content, all right? Cool. Pitching and proposals. Again, we're not protecting lack or who keeps on writing? Like, come on. We're not protecting lack or scarcity. We're diagnosing problems and suggesting a solution if we have one. We never pitch anything, right? So the number one question you can ask is, okay, what's going on? And when you ask what's going on, they might say, well, can you tell me more about your services? Don't do that. Don't fall for that trap where you talk for like 20 minutes straight and you're like, okay, are you still listening? You'll make yourself nervous. You don't know what to talk about if they don't tell you what their problems are. So as soon as possible, say, I help consultants grow their brand and revenue. what would be really helpful if you tell me what's going on with you and why you want to talk today. Quickly as possible, pivot back to them. So once they talk about their challenges, you can say, well, what change would need to occur in order for you to be happy about our time together? And they might say, oh, I would be able to do this, or do this, or do this, or do that. That's fine. But be very careful. They're not talking about the symptom, and they are talking about the source of their problems. They might say, I want you to treat the symptom, but you're like, I hear you, but really the source is this, right? So if we take care of that, it's going to take care of the symptom and several other things. So write that down. Be sure not to treat the symptom just because they're asking you for help with the symptom. Go for the source. That's how you have an impact, not just the symptom, right? Another one is painting this scenario. What happens if you do nothing? What's the cost of inaction? What's the COI, cost of inaction? Have them lay that out. Once they present this doomsday scenario, you can say, well, do you want my help? That sounds awful. You want me to help you? Because I can do that. And then if they give you some objection on price, one of my favorite questions is this. Okay, other than price, what would prevent you from moving forward today? What else would stop you? And then address those challenges if they're legit, and then just defend the price, right? It's like, hey, well, here's why I charge this much. You want me to charge this much because you don't want me to be busy to the point where I'm ignoring you because I have 20 other clients. It actually behooves you for me to charge a premium price. That way I only have 5 clients and I have more time to spend with them, and I don't feel stressed out and I'm not doing things, kind of half-assed because I'm in a hurry. So this is your benefit, right? So just kind of reverse psychology on them. So these are some questions. Just have these in mind. But is this helpful as I'm going through this? Cool. Awesome. And I wrote another article about this. It's on my website, like going deeper into this. So if you want to check that out too, you can do that. Proposals, you know what to do, right? So HoneyBook's got your back. There's no way I can improve on that conversation. So next slide. Let's talk about your services. This next slide I'm going to show you. Can I get rid of this crap? How do I get rid of these things? This next slide I'm going to show you is going to be very impactful. It's going to be another good opportunity for a screenshot. It's this. All right. And what I have here is a traditional funnel, more or less. So your lead magnet, how do you get in front of people in the first place? Your tripwire, this is going to be how you get someone to spend some money, between 15 and like $500. Could be an online course. It could be an hour of consulting. It could be a workshop you have for individuals, something like that. Now, here's the problem. Too many consultants focus on their core product, right? Coaching, consulting, maybe team workshops, so on and so forth, and don't spend nearly enough time on their profit multiplier, right? That could be organizational training, government contracts, long-term partnerships, so on and so forth. So someone earlier said, hey, why do I need to be on LinkedIn? Let's pretend you're like Patrice, a videographer, right? And you're teaching entrepreneurs how to make video in-house. How about you go teach organizations how to do it instead, right? So I know your creative people, like they can't get access to videographers and everything. They're at home. I'll teach your organization how you can empower people that work at your company to create videos too. Now that same service is worth $20,000, not $2,000, right? Or if you're a digital marketing consultant, instead of teaching people like individuals how to get more sales for their small business, teach a branding agency that does not do direct response marketing how to do Instagram shopping ads. Then they can scale that across all their clients. And hell, now that's worth tens of thousands of dollars. So I'm not asking you to necessarily, change what you're doing. I'm asking you to amplify the impact of it, right? That's the goal. So Emily's saying, Emil's saying, I think there's a big confidence gap between the core product and the profit multiplier. How do you recommend getting beyond that? Do it. Send the email. That's it. All they can say is no. I'm not going to screenshot and tag you on Instagram. Look what this fool sent me, right? It's fine. I used to go person to person selling stuff, in person, literally. That's tough, right? So all I'm asking you to do is send an email. If they ignore you or say no, who cares? Keep it moving. That's fine. Because what you're doing, you're not ripping anybody off. These are good ideas, right? So you're holding yourself back. And you're also limiting your ability to help them too, because you're not pitching the service to them, right? So yeah, email, go ahead. It's fine. Natalie's saying someone less qualified than you was sending that email. You're absolutely right. Yeah. So when you look at your services, you want to have different tiers. And I'm just showing you a loose example here. Tier 1 could be a 3-hour workshop, how to create a founder video. Tier 2 could be like, okay, I'm going to do the video outline for you and the script. That's $2,000. It could be a video outline, the script, and my team will edit it for you. That's $5,000. And the other one could be all the above plus content strategy. That's $10,000. I'm just making these up, but have different tiers for people to come in and get used to working with you, because it gives them something to say no to, first of all. And someone might say, oh, I want this and more. So when you have your packages, make sure you split them out like this, right? Because that one at the end might be like $10,000, $20,000. It's going to be easier for them to say yes if like someone from their team sat on that 3-hour workshop and said, oh, she's amazing, you got to hire her. So you can accelerate the process of getting a yes on that lead, on that profit multiplier, by having someone come in a core product first, or even a tripwire. That's why it's so important to have that there. I'm just saying, don't get stuck on the core product and think that's all you can ever do. That's what I don't want to have happen. How much did you charge? Well, have a number in mind first. How much money do you want to make? Let's say it's $100,000 a year. And then do the math. If you charge $100 an hour, that's 1,000 hours you'd have to book a year. That's a lot. That's 20 hours a week that you're doing billable work. So you're better off charging $200 an hour than you only work 10 hours a week, right? So do the math on this to make sure that the amount you're charging is feasible, if you're doing hourly in this case, based on what you want to do. Now, me, I don't like hourly billing because it causes anxiety. If I'm not doing something, I'm not making money. If I'm not doing something, I'm nothing, right? But you don't have to do more to be more. Because the way that you present yourself, you can say, look, I actually don't do hourly, I do it by project. Your goal is this? Okay, cool. Here's a product I have for you. I will help you reach this goal. Doesn't matter how many hours it takes me. The point is you get your desired outcome, right? So I strongly suggest having this set up, have these packages set up in these projects, right? You want this? Cool, here you go, sign up. It's $5,000. How many hours does it take? I don't know. We'll see. But I know, is this worth $5,000 to you based on your goal? Cool, then buy it. You know what I mean? So get away from the hourly stuff, because they're saying it took you that long to do this. I'm like, dude, like you're gonna have this forever. Like I made a logo for you. Jeez, like what else? like why does it matter how long it took me, right? And you can also have a retainer, and that's when you more or less are paid to be available to give advice on a certain topic, and that's an ongoing thing. There's not going to be an actual project done. You're just on a retainer. If they ever have questions about video production, you're their go-to person. They can always reach out to you, and that's $2,000 a month, right? How do you figure out the price? Here we go. First thing is just Google it and see what happens, because your prospects are doing the same exact thing, right? How much should I pay a digital marketing consultant, whatever it is? They're doing the same thing. Get a ballpark. The other is some competitors have their rates on their website. I believe Patrice does. So you can see what some competitors are charging to get a ballpark as well. Another thing, ask other business owners how much they paid for a similar service. Hey, I know you worked with someone to teach you how to like cook, that catering person who does that remotely now. How much did you pay them? Oh, okay, cool, thanks. Ask around, right? Once you grow your network, you can also ask other coaches and consultants. And that's why what you're doing here with Rising Tide is so freaking important, because you have an audience of people in that Facebook group to say, has anyone done this? How much did you charge? DM me if you feel more comfortable doing that. But don't just spend days not launching because you're like, oh, how much should I charge, right? Do all this stuff. And you know what? You're going to change your rate. That's fine. But don't let perfection or perceived perfection be the enemy of progress. Launch it, right? Now, with project fees, you can more or less follow this formula. I'll give you the spreadsheet for this. But you can say, okay, well, my desired outcome is to make $350 an hour. Now, how long would it take for all this stuff? For the outline, the script, the editing, so on and so forth, 14 hours. Multiply that by 350, and then bake in additional percentage for margins if you're paying someone to do it, some of the stuff, or unexpected contingencies, meaning, I don't know, it's unexpected, I can't tell you, right? But things happen. Something weird always happens, right? So bake it up another 15, 20% to account for that. And hell, if you're paying for your own health insurance, there you go, right? So you always want to have some kind of margin that you can bake up. However you want to bake up, it's up to you. But that's the goal here, right? And I'll give you a link to this spreadsheet momentarily if you want to pop your own numbers in. It's super basic, to be honest. Like, so don't get your hopes up. But but if you want to get that spreadsheet, I can give it to you as well. But the thing is, if you charge average rates, you'll get average results. So that's why your best thing you could do is talk to people who have already used a service like yours and then say, what could that person have done to have made you pay twice as much as you paid? What could they have done? And then do that, right? That's the benefit of doing research. You want to be a premium resource. Why would you be average? If someone said, hey, what do you want to grow up? What do you want to be when you grow up? Would you say, oh, yeah, I'm average. I don't want to shine. You know, it wouldn't make any sense, right? So why would you charge the average rates once you do all this math, right? Cool. So I'm going to say that's a wrap. And just curious, first of all, I can go over a bit with Q&A because I've been as rapid fire talking so much. But in the chat, if you can just put your biggest takeaways, I'd love to see some of those. Actually, Natalie, you already prompted them to share those. So that's cool if you want to have the redundancy. One thing I'm going to do is try to sell you a course that I have to offer. If you want more information, I also have an online course that walks through this and more. It's actually about 40 videos long that I recorded during COVID with my wife watching my 3 kids. So thank you to her for that. And then beyond that, you get this playbook I created where you're actually putting in all your information to these templates, these scripts you need, all this great stuff. And then the most important part, I think, is I do live weekly Q&A. Live weekly Q&A. So if you have any questions at all going forward, you join me and I'm there to answer those questions for you. So I know Natalie's going to put a link in there to the deck, to this course. But if you do want to buy it, you'll save 30% with the code TIDE211. So that's going to be the end of my salesy part, my pitchy part. But if you do want to join me in this course, and again, join me for Q&A, live Q&A once a week, then you can do that. But for now, let me answer some more questions. Let's see what we got. Yeah, Natalie, you're welcome. Natalie Walters. Thank you. This is great. Yeah, you're helpful. Or you're welcome. Sorry. Is there a question here? Just want to make sure. How do I give her the fear of charging what you deserve? Yeah. And Natalie, if you can kind of like mentally bookmark some of these, it might scroll by and I might miss it. And by the way, people, I can stay on for like another 15 minutes if we want to keep this going. Some of you have to leave, I get it, but this is my favorite part. So how do you get over the fear? Well, as someone said earlier, someone less qualified than you doesn't have any fear. They're just launching it and they're going for it. That's part of it. Another part is early in my career as a consultant, I didn't hear no enough. And that told me I wasn't charging enough because there should be some friction in the process, right? If you're closing 30% of your deals when someone gets on the phone with you, that's okay. Above that's obviously better. But if you're closing like 70%, that's not good. And you're not good. It could be a sign that you're not charging enough. It could also be scaring people away, right? Because like, let's pretend I'm an accountant and I was like, hey, Penny, I only charge $100 to do your taxes. Is that cool? And you say, no, I'm good, man. That doesn't sound like a good idea. So yeah, it's really just having the confidence to charge what you're worth based on the research you've done and the response you've got, right? Penny saying, during COVID, so many competitors are desperate. How can I justify higher prices with this situation? Penny, 2 ways. One is, if at any point it's between lowering your prices and paying your rent and your mortgage, don't listen to the guy that you met on a webinar. Lower your prices, right? Because your problem is not mine, and you taking my advice would be horrible. But when you stand your ground and you're like, no, this is the rate. It's not my rate, it's the rate. And you justify why it's a good investment. That's how you can stand out as a premium service provider. And Penny, I'll be more open. My best months last year financially were May and December. May, we were in it. Right? That was one of my best months of the year. December was better, but May was the best month and I wasn't cheap, right? So yeah, that's it. And another thing is like, you'll find other ways to scale your time. You'll say, cool, you can't afford this. You can't afford me one-on-one. I have a group coaching program that I offer as well. Instead of $2,000 a month, it's $700 a month. But Penny, if you get 5 people in that group coaching program or consulting program, now you're making $3,500 a month instead of $2,000. So I highly recommend that, doing a group coaching program. I have one. That's how I scale my time with all these kids. We meet twice a week for Q&A. The rest of my content's recorded. It's that course that I've been trying to sell you the last 7 minutes. It's all recorded. That way, when people show up to the Q&A sessions, they already have all the answer, all the content. They can ask me for more bespoke questions on it. That's how you scale your time, right? And then if you're like, oh, no one's buying my premium service, that's fine. Sell them something else. Ashley saying thoughts on VIP days. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, VIP days are great, Ashley. You know why? So for everyone who hasn't guessed, a VIP day is when you're like, hey, one person, I'm going to guide you toward this desired outcome over the course of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours. People really value time compression these days. If you can answer their question faster, as opposed to taking 2 months, 3 months, whatever it is, they'll pay a premium for that. But actually, really what you want to do is say, you're going to do some pre-work first. The pre-work is this. I want you ready to hit the ground running as soon as we get started. You're going to do this. Then during the day, we're going to have this interactive session, and then you get homework. Now, if you really want to increase the value, Ashley, then we'll have one brief follow-up session where I review that homework to make sure you've implemented everything correctly. And if you want to continue going forward on a retainer, we can talk about that too. But tips on filling the time well enough is just really get clear on what their desired transformation is and what you'd have to do to help them get there. How do you start posting on LinkedIn again? All the stuff I talked about like half hour ago. Just like don't let fear get in your way. Like, too many people are concerned about trying to sound smart on LinkedIn, and that's why they don't post, right? So Eva, just go for it, and actually tag me when you post too. Like, mention me in the comments or something, and I'll chime in. But it's okay. I mean, if it's not that good, no one's going to see it anyways because of algorithms. So I'll just put it out there. I'll just say it that way, because they're not going to keep on showing bad content. But just do it. Like, you're not. There's no one's gonna. I mean, you're doing it for free. First of all, the only way to get better is to create content. And if you're not doing it, you're just limiting your ability to reach 20,000 people by talking about your kid's teeth falling out. So please do it. You get a big told you so from your husband? Well, hopefully he's a little bit more empathetic. We'll see. I've learned not to do that after 7 years of marriage. Can I speak more about creating engaging content that's personal? I consider myself to be shy and reserved and hold off because it might be too personal. Alex, you want to stay within your own constraints, right? And I think it's beneficial for all of us to have something personal about our life that we never put on social media. It's just ours. And there's never any kind of judgment or feedback. We covet that because it's ours. We won't share it with the world, and that's fine. But you draw the line where you feel comfortable. But even like right now, you could say like, oh, I'm taking this webinar with this guy so I can learn how to grow my business better. By the way, here's what I do. DM me if you want to know more information, right? That's a personal experience. Now, there was a time this year when I posted about my brother being in the hospital due to COVID, unfortunately. And I was just saying, I'm doing this, but I'm still getting up, taking care of my kids every day, and I'm going to work because I have to. And me sitting around feeling bad, it's not going to help anything, right? And fortunately, he got better, and that was fine. But I wasn't doing it to like get attention for that. I was just saying like, this is the business application of how I deal with challenging times, right? So it's up to you if you want to do that or not. But there are some things in my personal life you'll never hear about because I don't want to absorb someone else's opinion about what happened to me. So anything you would say that might be a trigger, and if something says the wrong thing, don't post it. Because you cannot expect people to behave properly, if that's the best way to say it, or like they have home training. So don't put that out there because you will get hurt potentially, right? Um, and Sarah's spot on. She's like, the content that you aren't overthinking is what's most relatable. Sarah, I'll go deeper with that. The majority of the time, the content you see me post wasn't planned out in that matrix. It's always a backup. It's there. But majority of the time, I'm just like going through my day and like, all right, well, this is actually pretty cool. I'll post this instead. Because you get better at creating content and you don't really need that guide as much. But what you do need to do is this. You do have to have a promotional calendar. Like maybe every Tuesday you do something promotional because you do want to, like, ask for someone's business. But yeah, you want to make sure it feels organic and not too planned. All right. And I see Holly's putting her social handles in. Smart. Yeah. And if any of you follow me on LinkedIn, I'll post right after today's session, hey, did you attend the session with Rising Tide and HoneyBook? If so, what do you do and what are your key takeaways? Right? So let's all commit to doing that. I'm going to put my LinkedIn handle in, but that way you can all follow each other after that. So let me stop sharing my screen and I'll put my LinkedIn and then we can all do that too. Actually, it's here.
This has been amazing, Terry. I wish you could see, even on our internal Slack at HoneyBook, it's just a waterfall of love for you. And this chat has just been overflowing. We are so, 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 so grateful. And I love this idea of everyone heading over to Terry's LinkedIn and following along.
Yeah, I'll throw it in there now.
I'm not sure what's happening here.
There's always some weirdness. Don't worry.
But I do want to announce our giveaway winner too, if we can, and thank you, Terry, and close us out. Does that sound about right?
Sounds good to me. Yeah.
All right. Awesome. I know. First of all, let me just start with this. Terry, thank you for not only giving us the time that we hoped for today, but then running over with just gold after mic drop after mic drop. This has been so incredible. And so many of you shared your favorite quotes from Terry on Instagram stories, tagged him. I have an entire page here of doodles to do. I'm going to pick my favorites and doodle them and then tag you, Terry. Phenomenal. Thank you so much. Now, one very lucky one of you shared and got chosen by our, I don't know how Kate did it. There's like a random generator thing. And the handle of our winner is Jacqueline X Scott. So Jacqueline, you are our winner. Please reach out to us. We'll reach out to you. We'll get in touch. But congratulations on winning our gift card. And before we close it out, Terry, do you want to tell us one last time? We have the course link. Maybe Kate, can we drop that course link in one more time? Where else you'd love us to connect with you, and just thank you from the bottom of our hearts.
Yeah. Well, I mean, thank you as well. And like, I think the best way for me to close it out is to say, I know this is challenging. I know this is tough, and I know that it seems like there's 1,000 things you need to do for this to work. And what I'm saying is it will work if you follow the path that I've laid out and other experts as well. But what I don't want you to do is this. I don't want you to do what I did. When I first started my business, my daughter was very young. She's like 2 months old. And I worried all the time. I worried all the time about what was going to happen. How am I going to, support my family, so on and so forth, to the point where I'll look back at pictures of her now and I can't remember her being that little. Right. She's huge now, but I worried for nothing. Right. So I lost that time for nothing. And I don't want you to lose that time for nothing. Right. So, you'll get the deck, you'll get the recording, there's other resources too. But if you follow these steps, right. And 3 things, if you're purpose driven, prepared, and patient, you will be successful however you define it. Right. But that worry is so taxing. Right. That it can actually prevent you from getting to that goal, or you won't even be the same person because you just let the process break you, right? So don't project scarcity, don't project lack, stick to your rates, right? But you have value to deliver to people, right? There's people that need your help, and for you not to express that and charge your true value, because if you don't charge enough, you're going to say this ain't worth it because it's not. Then you're limiting your ability to help them and yourself. So I'll leave you with that. But again, thank you for your time.
And he ends on a mic drop. ladies and gentlemen, and all of you. Thank you all so much, Terry. Thank you again. And reach out if y'all have questions, reach out to all of us. We're so excited and we can't wait to have you next month at our next Global Tuesdays together. Thank you, everybody.
Okay.